The heat made everything shimmer like water. Owen Blake wiped sweat from his forehead and wished he had brought more water bottles. His cargo ship sat 2 miles back at the loading dock, and he had decided to explore the ruins while the mechanics fixed a fuel line. Stupid decision, he thought now. Ashara Prime looked beautiful from space, all golden sand and white stone cities. Up close, it felt like walking through an oven. The ruins stretched in every direction. Buildings that once touched the sky now broken and half buried in sand. The precursors built this place millions of years ago, back when humanity was still learning to walk upright. Now they were gone, and their cities stood empty under the burning sun. Owen should have stayed with his ship. He was just a cargo hauler, moving supplies between colonies for the Intergalactic Trade Consortium. Nothing special. 32 years old, brown hair that needed cutting and a job that paid enough to keep him fed. His guide, a bug-like alien named Ralph, had warned him not to wander off. The Chitauri were usually right about things like that, but Owen had seen the towers from the landing pad, and curiosity got the better of him. The precursors fascinated him. A species so advanced they could create life itself and then they just disappeared. No war. No disaster that anyone could prove. They were here and then they were not. The maze of collapsed buildings confused him. Every street looked the same. Every pile of broken stone could hide another path or a dead end. Owen pulled out his water bottle and drank the last warm sip. His mouth still felt dry. A shadow caught his eye. Not the harsh black shadows from the sun, but something softer. He turned and saw an archway he had missed before, hidden between 2 leaning walls. Cool air drifted from the opening. Owen walked toward it without thinking. The passage led down, steps carved from white stone. Still perfect after all these years. The air grew cooler with each step, and Owen felt relief wash over him. His legs carried him deeper, following the gentle curve of the stairway. Light filtered from somewhere ahead, blue and soft. The passage opened into a courtyard that took his breath away. 4 walls of carved stone rose around him, covered in symbols that seemed to glow from within. In the center stood a fountain, crystal clear and flowing with water that shimmered with its own light. The liquid moved upward in spirals, defying gravity, and fell back into the basin in drops that sang when they landed. Owen stared. Every ruin on Ashara Prime had been picked clean by researchers and treasure hunters. How had no one found this place? The fountain alone would be worth a fortune. But his throat burned and the water looked so clean and cool. Just one drink. Just enough to get back to the ship. He walked to the fountain edge and knelt. The basin came up to his chest, made of the same glowing crystal as the water. Owen cupped his hands and reached into the flow. The water felt strange. Not cold or hot, but alive somehow. It tickled his palms. He brought his hands to his lips and drank. The courtyard exploded with light. Every symbol on every wall blazed like a small sun. The fountain surged upward in a column of pure white brilliance. Owen tried to pull back, but his body would not move. The water he had swallowed felt like fire in his chest, spreading through his veins with each heartbeat. His vision went white. His hearing vanished. All he knew was heat and light and a feeling like his body was being taken apart and put back together wrong. Or maybe right. He could not tell anymore. Owen collapsed. His cheek hit the stone floor, but he barely felt it. Something was changing inside him. His cells screamed and rebuilt themselves. His nerves fired in patterns they had never known. His brain expanded and filled with information he could not understand. Pictures flashed through his mind. Alien faces, star charts, mathematical formulas, a history that stretched back millions of years. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The light grew brighter and brighter until it swallowed everything. Then darkness. When Owen woke, he was moving. Someone carried him. He heard voices speaking in a language he did not know, but somehow the meaning came through anyway. Urgent, frightened, confused. His eyes would not open. His body felt heavy and light at the same time. Time passed strangely. He heard more voices. Felt hands on his skin, cold metal pressed against his chest. Beeping sounds filled his ears. Someone spoke above him, low and worried. His vitals are impossible. Neural activity at 400% of human baseline. Cellular regeneration increased by a factor of 10. His DNA is rewriting itself in real time. Another voice, higher pitched. Is he dying? I do not know. I have never seen anything like this. His body is changing, but into what? Owen wanted to tell them he could hear every word. He wanted to explain what happened at the fountain, but his mouth would not work. His body belonged to someone else now. Or something else. The changes continued. He felt them happening, felt his cells dividing faster than they should, felt new pathways forming in his brain, felt his senses expanding outward like ripples in a pond. The beeping machines grew louder. He could hear the electrical current running through the wires. He could smell the fear from the doctors. He could sense their heartbeats fast and irregular. What had he done? What had that water done to him? 3 days passed before Owen could open his eyes. When he finally did, the world looked different. Everything had colors he had never seen before. Light surrounded every living thing in the room, soft glows that pulsed with their breathing. The doctors' faces showed more than expressions. He could read their emotions like text on a screen. An elderly alien stood nearest to him, skin blue-green and covered in small scales. Kellan, his mind supplied, though he had never studied alien species. Dr. Vanna. She had worked here for 40 years. She had 3 children. She was terrified. Owen sat up slowly. His body felt strong, too strong. He looked at his hands and saw the same glow around them that he saw around everything else. What happened to me? His voice came out steady and clear. Dr. Vanna's face showed relief and fear in equal measure. She pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. You drank from a royal fountain, she said, and it awakened something that should not exist. Dr. Vanna brought Owen to her private office after the other medical staff left. The room smelled of old paper and something sweet that Owen could not name. Books lined the walls, actual physical books made from processed plant fiber, rare and expensive in a galaxy where everything existed in digital form. Owen sat in a chair that adjusted to his body weight. He still felt strange, like he wore someone else's skin. Every sound hit his ears with perfect clarity. The hum of the air recycler, the scratch of Dr. Vanna's scaled skin against her clothing. His own heart beat steady and slow, too slow. It beat only 30 times per minute now, but he felt fine. Better than fine. Tell me what you know about the precursors, Dr. Vanna said. She poured 2 cups of tea from a heated pot. The smell told Owen exactly what plants made the blend, though he had never studied botany. They built everything, Owen said. Millions of years ago. Then they vanished. Dr. Vanna nodded. Her emotions washed over Owen like waves. Sadness, excitement, fear. He did not understand how he sensed these things, but they felt as real as sight or sound. The precursors were genetic engineers, she continued. They did not just build cities and ships. They built life itself. Thousands of species across hundreds of worlds, each one designed with purpose, each one carrying potential locked in their DNA. Owen sipped his tea. He could taste every mineral in the water, every compound in the leaves. His tongue identified 17 separate flavors. The royal family possessed unique genetics, Dr. Vanna said. A gene complex that allowed them to access and guide the potential in all living things. They could heal with a touch. Read thoughts. Manipulate energy. The fountains were built to activate these genes when royal children came of age. But I am not a precursor, Owen said. No, you are human, and humans should not exist according to precursor records. Owen set down his cup. What? Dr. Vanna pulled up a hologram from her desk. It showed a star map with thousands of planets marked in blue. One planet glowed red, Earth. The precursors seeded most habitable worlds with life, she explained. But some worlds they marked as wild spaces, places where evolution could proceed without guidance. Your Earth was one of these. Humans evolved naturally without precursor engineering. Then how did the fountain work on me? Dr. Vanna's emotions shifted to wonder. That is the question. The fountain should have killed you or done nothing at all. Instead, it awakened you as if you carried royal blood. Your DNA responded to protocols designed for a species that went extinct 5 million years ago. Owen felt his new senses reaching out, touching the life energy in the room. A plant in the corner. Small insects in the walls. Dr. Vanna herself, her life force bright and complex. He pulled back quickly. The sensation felt invasive. I think, Dr. Vanna said slowly, that humanity evolved something similar to the royal gene complex by accident. Your Earth is harsh. Variable climates. Constant disasters. Predators and diseases that pushed your species to adapt quickly. Perhaps that pressure created genetic patterns that mirror what the precursors engineered deliberately. So I am an accident. You are a miracle. Dr. Vanna leaned forward. Do you understand what this means? The royal awakening was thought lost forever. The knowledge died with the precursors. But now you carry it. A human who should not be able to access precursor power, but does anyway. Owen stood and walked to the window. Outside, Ashara Prime's ruin stretched to the horizon. Somewhere out there, the fountain still flowed, still waited. He turned back to Dr. Vanna. What happens now? Her emotions went dark. Fear flooded through her so strongly that Owen felt it in his chest. Now we hide you, she said, because if the wrong people learn what you are, they will kill you. Or worse. Owen learned quickly that worse meant many things. Dr. Vanna spent the next week teaching him about galactic politics while his body continued to change. His abilities grew stronger each day. He could hear conversations from 3 floors away. His eyes saw heat patterns and energy fields. His mind processed information at speeds that felt impossible. On the 4th day, he accidentally healed a patient. A Chitauri worker had fallen from a loading crane and broken his back. The doctors said he would never walk again. Owen visited him to practice controlling his new senses, trying to understand how life energy moved through different species. He placed his hand on the injured Chitauri's shoulder, just a friendly gesture. But energy flowed from Owen without conscious thought. Blue-white light surrounded both of them. The Chitauri screamed, but not in pain, in shock. His broken spine rebuilt itself in seconds. Nerve damage that should have been permanent vanished like morning frost. The worker stood up. He took 3 steps, then 4. Then he ran down the hallway, clicking with joy in his native language. The nurses stared at Owen with wide eyes. Dr. Vanna arrived minutes later and immediately sealed the ward. "This is exactly what I feared," she said. 2 days after the healing, Ambassador Tyrion arrived at the medical facility. Owen watched from Dr. Vanna's office as the alien delegation walked through the entrance. Tyrion was Luminari, a species made of living crystal that caught and reflected light. Beautiful and cold, the ambassador's entourage included 6 guards and 3 scientists carrying scanning equipment. Dr. Vanna met them in the main hall. Owen listened to every word. "We received reports of a human exhibiting precursor abilities," Tyrion said. The ambassador's voice chimed like glass bells. "The Ascendancy requests immediate access to this individual for evaluation." "I know of no such human," Dr. Vanna lied. "Doctor, please. We have sensors. We know he is here. We can feel the royal gene activation from outside your facility. It calls to us like a beacon. Even if such a person existed, they would have rights. You cannot simply take them." Tyrion's light flickered with what might have been amusement. "The Ascendancy represents 37 advanced species. We are the precursor's rightful heirs. Any activation of royal gene protocols falls under our jurisdiction. The human will be taken into protective custody for the good of the galaxy." Owen felt his anger rise. Energy crackled around his hands. The lights in the office brightened. He forced himself to calm down. Dr. Vanna had warned him about losing control. "And if I refuse?" Dr. Vanna asked. "Then we will take him by force, and you will be charged with harboring dangerous genetic material." The ambassador turned to leave but paused at the door. "You have until tomorrow to comply, Doctor. After that, we will do what must be done." Owen watched them go. His new senses tracked their life energies all the way to their ship. He turned to find Ralph standing in the doorway. His guide had visited every day since the incident. "I heard everything," Ralph clicked softly. "We need to get you off this planet," Dr. Vanna nodded. "He is right. The Ascendancy will not stop. They believe only advanced species should wield precursor power. To them, humans are primitive children playing with weapons they cannot understand." Owen looked at his hands. Energy still danced between his fingers. "Then I guess we run." The cargo ship that smuggled Owen off Ashara Prime smelled like rust and old vegetables. Ralph had called in favors with his trading contacts, and they found a captain willing to hide a wanted human. Owen crouched in a cargo container filled with grain sacks, breathing through a filtered mask while they passed through 3 security checkpoints. His new senses made the hiding worse. He felt every life form on the station as they docked. Hundreds of heartbeats, thousands of thoughts brushing against his awareness, like moths against a window. He tried to block them out, but the harder he pushed, the louder they became. "Are you well?" Ralph clicked softly. The Chitauri sat beside him in the darkness, his compound eyes reflecting what little light seeped through the container walls. Too many minds, Owen whispered. I can feel them all thinking. It hurts. Doctor, Vanna said your abilities would grow. You must learn control. How? She didn't know how it works. Nobody does. I'm making this up as I go. The ship shuddered as it launched from the station. Owen felt the gravity shift and compensate. His inner ear adjusted automatically, processing the changes faster than normal human biology should allow. Everything about him was faster now, stronger, different. They traveled for 3 days before reaching the frontier colony where they would meet their next contact. Owen spent the time practicing. He learned to dim his awareness of other life forms, pushing his senses down to a manageable level. He learned to control the energy that built in his hands when he felt strong emotions. He learned to sleep without dreaming of stars and ancient memories that were not his own. The colony clung to an asteroid in a system with no habitable planets. Rough place. Miners and smugglers and people who did not want questions asked. Rolf led Owen through narrow tunnels carved from solid rock. Strip lights flickered overhead. The air tasted of metal and sweat. They found Casey Flynn in a bar that served drinks Owen could not identify. She sat alone in a corner booth, feet propped on the table, reading something on a datapad. Human. Red hair pulled back in a practical braid. Scars on her hands that spoke of hard work and harder fights. She looked up as they approached, and her green eyes measured Owen in 2 seconds. This is the guy? She asked Rolf. This is Owen Blake. Casey snorted. Doesn't look like much. You sure he's worth the ascendancy, putting a 1,000,000 credit bounty on his head? I can hear you, Owen said. Good. Then hear this. I don't care about your magic powers or your ancient alien destiny. I care about getting paid. Rolf says you can activate precursor tech. Prove it and I'll help you. Fail, and I dump you at the nearest station. Owen felt her emotions beneath the tough words. Curiosity, loneliness, a deep anger at something old and buried. He respected that she kept her pain private. Where is the precursor tech, he asked. Casey grinned. Follow me. She led them to a warehouse in the asteroid's lower levels. Inside sat what looked like a solid block of black stone, 10 feet on each side. Symbols covered its surface, but they were dark and dead. Found it in a salvage yard, Casey explained. Seller said it was precursor, but nobody could activate it. I bought it cheap, figured if I ever found someone who could make it work, I'd be rich. Owen approached the cube. His new senses tingled. The object was not stone, it was alive in a way. Sleeping, waiting for the right touch. He placed both hands on the surface. The cube exploded with light. Symbols blazed in sequences that hurt to look at. The top section separated and rose, revealing a hollow interior filled with glowing data streams. Information poured into Owen's mind. Star charts, coordinates, technical specifications, a history written in pure knowledge. Holy stars, Casey breathed. Owen pulled his hands back and the cube sealed itself. But he remembered everything it had shown him. A map of royal fountains scattered across the galaxy. Hundreds of them, each one capable of awakening the royal gene in compatible species. There are more fountains, Owen said. Hundreds of them, and they're all still active. Rolf's emotions shifted to excitement. Then we could awaken others, build an army of guardians to face whatever threats come. Wait, Casey said. Back up. What do you mean awaken others? I thought Owen was special because he's the only one. Owen shook his head. Dr. Vanna thought humans might have evolved traits similar to the royal gene because Earth was so harsh. But if that's true, other species might have done the same. Different worlds, different pressures, but similar results. You want to test this theory? Casey asked. The cube showed me a warning, Owen said quietly. The precursors didn't die naturally. Something killed them, something called the Void Swarm, an extragalactic entity that feeds on evolved consciousness. The royal family created the guardian gene as a weapon against it. The warehouse went silent. Even the background hum of the asteroid's life support seemed to quiet. The swarm operates on a cycle, Owen continued. 5 million years. The last invasion was 5 million years ago. You're saying it's coming back, Casey said. I'm saying it's already here. At the galactic rim, moving inward. We have maybe 6 months before it reaches populated space. Ralph's compound eyes reflected the cube's fading light. The Ascendancy does not know this. The galactic governments do not know this. They are fighting over power while extinction approaches. Owen felt the weight of what he was suggesting. We need to awaken more guardians, build a defense, warn the galaxy. Casey was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, sharp and bitter. Of course the universe is ending, why not? Okay, I'm in. But we do this smart. The Ascendancy wants you dead or captured. Every government in the galaxy will be looking for you soon. We need a ship that's fast and hard to track. You know where to find one? Rolf asked. I know where to steal one. Give me 3 days. They spent those days planning. Casey had contacts throughout the frontier, smugglers and pirates who owed her favors. She called them all in, trading promises and threats in equal measure. Rolf used his merchant connections to gather supplies and information. Owen practiced with the precursor cube, learning to access its data without being overwhelmed. On the 3rd day, Casey returned with a ship. Sleek and fast, built for speed over cargo capacity. Military design, but old enough that its ID tags had been scrubbed a dozen times. Perfect for running. Where to first? Casey asked as they loaded their gear. Owen pulled up the star map in his mind, the one the cube had shown him. Hundreds of fountains glowed like embers. He picked the nearest one that sat in neutral space, unclaimed by any government. There, he said, highlighting the coordinates. We start there. Ralph settled into the co-pilot seat, his chitinous body clicking as he adjusted to the chair. And if it works, if we can awaken others, then we keep going. One fountain at a time, one species at a time, until we have enough guardians to face what's coming. Casey fired the engines. The ship lifted smoothly and rotated toward the exit tunnel. You realize the Ascendancy will hunt us across the galaxy for this. I know. And most species will think we're insane or dangerous or both. I know that too. And there's a very good chance we'll all die horrible deaths in the cold vacuum of space or get eaten by some cosmic horror from beyond the galaxy. Owen smiled despite everything. Now you're getting it. Casey laughed and punched the acceleration. The ship leaped forward, racing toward the stars. Behind them, the asteroid colony grew small and disappeared. Ahead lay hundreds of worlds and thousands of species. Somewhere among them were more like Owen, people whose evolution had prepared them for this moment without knowing it. People who could become guardians. The hunt had begun. But this time, Owen was the hunter, not the prey. The fountain on Ralph's homeworld sat in a canyon so deep that sunlight only reached the bottom for an hour each day. Owen stood at the edge looking down at the ribbon of silver water flowing across red stone. Chitauri guards watched from positions carved into the canyon walls, but they did not interfere. Ralph had called ahead and his family held enough influence to grant them safe passage. Are you certain? Owen asked for the 3rd time. Ralph's mandibles clicked and what Owen had learned was amusement. You asked me to be first. I agreed. Now you doubt? The process nearly killed me. You saw what I went through. 3 days of transformation, pain. Your biology is different. It might not work at all, or it might work differently. Then we learn. Rolf started down the narrow path that descended into the canyon. Owen followed, hyper-aware of every loose stone and shifting grain of sand. His new senses screamed warnings about the unstable geology, but the path had been used for thousands of years. It would hold. The fountain looked smaller than the one on Ashara Prime. No elaborate courtyard. No carved symbols, just water flowing from a crack in the canyon wall, pooling in a basin worn smooth by time. But Owen's senses detected the same dormant power, the same waiting potential. The precursors came to my world, Rolf said quietly. The old stories, remember? They brought water to the dry places, made the air breathable. My ancestors thought they were gods. Maybe they were. By some definitions, Rolf approached the basin. His 6 legs moved with careful precision. If I do not survive, tell my clutchmates that I chose this, that I understood the risk. You'll survive. You cannot promise that. Owen placed a hand on Ralph's shoulder. Energy flowed between them, a connection that went deeper than words. Yes, I can. I can feel the potential in you. Your species evolved under crushing gravity and constant predation. You developed group mind tendencies to survive. The fountain will recognize that. It will awaken what's already there. Ralph dipped his foreleg into the water. Here we discover if your theory holds truth or merely hope. He drank. The transformation was different. Owen watched with senses that could perceive the changes on a cellular level. Where his own awakening had been fire and light, Ralph's was connection and expansion. The Chitauri's consciousness spread outward like roots growing through soil. Owen felt it reaching, searching, finding. Ralph's body glowed with soft purple light. His compound eyes blazed like stars. Then he collapsed and Owen caught him before he hit the stone. The transformation took 2 days instead of 3. Owen stayed by Ralph's side, monitoring the changes with his expanded awareness. Casey stood guard at the canyon's rim, watching for ascendancy ships or bounty hunters. The Chitauri guards brought food and water but kept their distance. They had seen the light. They knew something sacred was happening. When Ralph woke, his first words came directly into Owen's mind. I can hear them, all of them. Every Chitauri on the planet. Their thoughts. Their feelings. Like a song with 10 billion voices. Owen helped him sit up. Can you control it? Yes, I can focus on one voice or listen to all. I can share thoughts across any distance, send warnings, coordinate actions with perfect precision. Ralph looked at his foreleg. Purple energy danced along the chitinous surface. The fountain did not make me what you are. It made me what my species needed. That's the point. The guardian gene adapts. It enhances what evolution already built. Then we can awaken others. Each will be different. Each will be necessary. Word spread fast. By the time they returned to the ship, Casey had received 43 messages from species across the frontier. Everyone wanted to know if the rumors were true, if the human and the Chitauri really could activate precursor technology, if they really were creating new guardians. Some of these are obviously traps, Casey said, scrolling through the messages, but some might be genuine. How do we tell the difference? Owen reached out with his senses, touching the life energy behind each message. Fear, desperation, hope, greed. He sorted through the emotions like files in a database. These 12, he said, highlighting them. They're real. The rest are either ascendancy agents or opportunists. They spent the next 3 months traveling from world to world, fountain to fountain. Not every attempt succeeded. Compatibility was rare, perhaps 1 in 1,000. But when it worked, the results were amazing. A Quellan named Dina, who could manipulate water at the molecular level, pulling moisture from the air or separating hydrogen from oxygen with a thought. A crystallid named Brent, who became nearly indestructible, his silicon-based body absorbing energy and converting it to strength. A nocturnal shade named Sophie, who could bend light around herself, becoming invisible in any environment. Each new guardian brought unique abilities shaped by their species' evolution. Each one proved Owen's theory correct. The harsh pressures of survival had pushed some species toward traits that mirrored what the precursors engineered, deliberately. But success brought attention. The ascendancy increased the bounty to 5 million credits. Governments that had been neutral began issuing arrest warrants. Propaganda broadcasts called Owen a dangerous radical creating weapons of mass destruction. The galaxy began to fracture between those who saw the necessity of guardians and those who feared change. On a rocky moon called Haven, they established their first real base. 50 awakened guardians from 30 different species, all training to master their new abilities. Owen taught them what he had learned. Ralph coordinated their mental networks. Casey organized supply lines and security. It felt like building something real, something that might actually work. Then Ambassador Tyrion found them. Owen felt the attack coming 3 minutes before the ships appeared. His senses detected the ripple in space-time as vessels dropped from faster-than-light travel. He counted 12 signatures, all ascendancy military. Everyone to defensive positions he sent through Ralph's mental network. They're here. The Guardians moved with practiced precision. They had drilled for this. Young students took cover in reinforced bunkers. Experienced fighters took up positions in the facility's defensive towers. Energy fields activated around the perimeter. The ascendancy ships descended like falling stars. Weapons charged. Shields blazed. Then Casey's voice crackled over the communications channel. Owen, we have a bigger problem. Their lead ship is broadcasting a message. They know about the Void Swarm, they know everything. Owen felt cold despite the energy crackling around his hands. How? They have a spy among the Guardians. Someone we awakened. Someone we trusted. The first missiles hit the shields. Energy rippled across the barrier like water struck by stones. The facility shuddered but held. Owen reached out with his senses, scanning every Guardian in the base. Who had betrayed them? Who had sold their secrets to the Ascendancy? There. A luminary named Percy awakened just 3 weeks ago. His emotions were wrong. Guilt. Satisfaction. Anticipation. He had been a plant from the start, sent by Tyrion to infiltrate and report. Owen found him near the main reactor, placing shaped charges. The traitor looked up as Owen appeared in the doorway. Nothing personal, Percy said, his crystalline body refracting the dim light. But the Ascendancy promises order. You promise chaos. The galaxy needs order. The galaxy needs survival. The swarm is real. The swarm is a story you invented to seize power. Ambassador Tyrion showed me the truth. You're using precursor technology to make yourself a god. Owen felt the charges ticking down. 30 seconds. I can't convince you. But I can save everyone else. He reached deep into his power, deeper than he had ever gone before. Energy exploded from his body in a wave that knocked Percy across the room. Owen touched the base's systems, the network of precursor technology that ran through every wall. He woke it up. The facility came alive. Ancient defenses activated for the first time in 5 million years. Weapon platforms rose from hidden positions. Energy shields multiplied in strength. The moon itself seemed to wake up and roar defiance. Ascendancy ships scattered as beams of coherent light lanced through the darkness. 2 ships exploded. 3 more retreated. The rest regrouped at a safer distance, weapons still charging but hesitant to engage. Owen collapsed. The effort had drained him completely. His vision blurred. His heartbeat stuttered. He had given too much too fast. Ralph caught him before he hit the ground. Owen, stay with us. We need you. Get everyone out, Owen whispered. They'll come back. Bring everything. This base is compromised. He felt his body changing again. The transformation was accelerating. He was becoming something more than human, more than Guardian. His cells rewrote themselves. His consciousness expanded beyond his skull. For a moment he touched something vast and cold at the edge of the galaxy. The Void Swarm. Closer than he thought. Hungry and patient. Then everything went black. Darkness surrounded Owen like deep water. He floated in it, neither awake nor asleep. Time passed strangely. Sometimes he heard voices from far away. Sometimes he felt hands touching his body, checking his pulse, monitoring his transformation. Sometimes he sensed nothing at all. His consciousness drifted between worlds. One moment he existed in his physical body, the next he spread across light years of space. He touched the minds of every Guardian he had awakened, feeling their fear and confusion. He sensed the Void Swarm at the galaxy's edge, a cold hunger that devoured stars. He saw patterns in the universe itself, mathematical certainties written into the fabric of reality. The precursors had understood these patterns. They had learned to read the universe's code and write their own additions. The Guardian gene was their greatest work, a bridge between consciousness and energy. But they had failed. The swarm had overwhelmed them. Their mistake was thinking they could fight entropy with order. Owen understood now what they had missed. Entropy could not be defeated. It could only be answered. Life was not order imposed on chaos. Life was chaos learning to dance. He woke 3 weeks after the base evacuation. The room around him was metal and plastic, lit by soft blue lights. Medical equipment hummed nearby. He sat up slowly and his body moved with impossible grace. He felt different, lighter, stronger, wrong and right at the same time. Casey sat in a chair by the door, half asleep, with a data pad on her lap. She jerked awake when Owen's feet touched the floor. "You're up," she said, relief flooding her voice. "We thought you might not wake up." "How long?" 3 weeks. Your body went into some kind of hibernation while it changed. Rolth said he could still feel your mind working, processing something massive. He said you were becoming something new." Owen looked at his hands. They appeared normal, but energy danced beneath the skin like lightning in clouds. "Where are we?" "Sanctuary. The precursor homeworld. You told us about it in your sleep." Kept repeating the coordinates. "Rolth navigated us here, and the planet let us through its defenses when we arrived. It recognized you somehow. Because I'm Prime now. Prime, the final form of the Guardian awakening. What the royal family became when they fully matured. I can share my abilities with others temporarily. Extend my power to entire fleets. Sense the swarm's nature directly. Owen stood and walked to the window. Outside, precursor architecture rose in impossible spirals. Cities that had been empty for millions of years now hummed with life as Guardians explored their new home. Casey joined him at the window. The galaxy's falling apart while you slept. The Ascendancy declared martial law in their territories, started rounding up anyone who speaks favorably about Guardians. 6 governments collapsed into civil war over whether to support you or condemn you. Refugees are flooding into neutral space, and the swarm? Confirmed. Long-range sensors detected it 3 days ago. It's consumed 6 border systems already. Millions dead. The Ascendancy still claims it's a hoax that we're using holograms and propaganda to seize power. Owen felt the swarm in his expanded awareness, cold and patient and utterly alien. Not evil, not cruel, simply doing what it was designed to do, clearing away consciousness that had become stagnant, testing whether evolved life deserved to continue existing. They're not entirely wrong to fear us, Owen said quietly. The Guardians could become tyrants. Power like ours corrupts if it's not balanced. So what do? We finish what we started. Awaken more Guardians. Build a fleet. Face the swarm. Casey was quiet for a moment. Ralph said you touched something while you were unconscious. That you saw things. What did you learn? Owen closed his eyes and watched the patterns play behind his eyelids. The swarm isn't a species. It's a process. The universe's immune system. When consciousness becomes too ordered, too rigid, too caught in its own patterns, the swarm comes to break it down. The precursors tried to fight it with perfect order. That's why they lost. Then how do we win? We don't fight it. We answer it. Over the next 2 months, everything accelerated. Owen's broadcast to the galaxy went viral. He revealed everything. The precursors' true purpose, the nature of the swarm, the choice facing all sentient species. Unite and fight for their right to exist or cling to old prejudices and die. The response overwhelmed their systems. Billions of beings volunteered to become Guardians. They came from every species, every world, every walk of life. Scientists and soldiers, artists and engineers, rich and poor, young and old. Most could not awaken. The compatibility rate remained 1 in 1,000. But those who could brought dedication that money could not buy. Within 2 months, they had awakened 500 Guardians. Within 3 months, that number doubled. Each one trained at Sanctuary, learning to master abilities unique to their species. Ralph coordinated them through his mental networks. Casey organized logistics for an army that grew larger every day, but the Ascendancy would not yield. Ambassador Tyrion rallied conservative factions across the galaxy. Passed laws declaring Guardian awakening illegal, sent assassins and saboteurs. Blockaded systems that tried to send volunteers to Sanctuary. The conflict came to a head at the Nexus shipyards, a massive orbital facility that built warships for neutral governments. Owen needed those ships to face the swarm. Tyrion's fleet surrounded the shipyards, claiming they would use violence to prevent Guardian forces from taking them. Owen arrived with 50 Guardians and no weapons. They met in the vacuum between fleets. Owen floated freely, his body protected by energy fields that his new form generated naturally. Tyrion appeared as a projection, unwilling to risk physical presence. "This is your last chance," the ambassador said. "Surrender. Submit to Ascendancy authority. We will study your abilities properly. Control them responsibly. Control means stagnation," Owen replied. "That's what the swarm judges. That's why the precursors fell. They became so ordered, so rigid that they stopped growing. The swarm came because they had nothing left to offer the universe. You speak nonsense. I speak truth. Watch." Owen opened his senses completely. His consciousness expanded outward, touching every mind in both fleets. Humans and Luminari, Chitauri and Quellan, soldiers who were enemies seconds ago now felt each other's fear and hope and love. Owen showed them the swarm as he perceived it. The cold hunger approaching, the test that consciousness itself must pass. He showed them a choice. Fight each other and fail together, or unite and maybe, just maybe, prove that life deserved its place in the cosmos. The fleets hesitated. Weapons powered down, shields dropped. Then a single ship broke from the Ascendancy formation. Then another, then 10, then 100. Tyran's projection flickered with rage. Traitors, all of you. You will regret this, perhaps, Owen said. But we'll regret it together. The ambassador's projection vanished. The remaining Ascendancy ships retreated. The shipyards opened their docks to Guardian forces. Owen returned to Sanctuary exhausted but triumphant. They had ships now. They had Guardians. They had unity, fragile but real. Casey met him at the landing bay. Her expression stopped him cold. The swarm just accelerated. It's not taking 6 months to reach core systems anymore. We have 3 weeks. Maybe less. Owen looked up at the stars through the bay's atmospheric shield. Somewhere out there, the swarm moved through darkness, patient, inevitable, testing whether consciousness could evolve fast enough to deserve survival. Then we have 3 weeks to show the universe what we've become, Owen said. Gather everyone, all the Guardians, all the ships, everything we have. Where are we going? The Galactic Core, where the swarm will try to corrupt the central black hole and turn it into a weapon against all life. We'll meet it there, and we'll give it an answer it's never seen before. Space near the Galactic Core burned with radiation and gravity waves. Stars packed so densely that night never truly fell. The supermassive black hole sat at the center of everything, 4 million times the mass of Earth's sun, bending reality around itself like a wound in the universe. The Void Swarm had reached it first. Owen watched from the command deck of the Sanctuary flagship as the enemy revealed itself. Not ships, not creatures, just absence. Dark spaces where matter and energy ceased to exist. The swarm moved through, reality like holes in fabric, consuming light and heat and thought. Wherever it touched, stars went dark. Planets crumbled to dust. The very structure of space-time began to unravel. Fleet status, Casey said from her station. She wore the armor of a Guardian now, awakened 3 days ago in a desperate ceremony. Her abilities manifested as perfect spatial awareness, able to coordinate fleet movements across light years with thought alone. All ships in position, Ralph reported through the mental network that connected every Guardian. 1,000 awakened, beings from 300 species, their minds linked in harmony that the galaxy had never seen. The swarm is attempting to corrupt the black hole's event horizon. If it succeeds, it will turn the core into a weapon that destroys consciousness throughout the galaxy. Owen reached out with his senses, touching the swarm's alien awareness. He felt its purpose now clear and cold. Test the galaxy. Judge whether consciousness had evolved beyond stagnation. The precursors had failed this test because they stopped growing, stopped questioning, stopped changing. They had achieved perfection and died from it. All Guardians, Owen sent through the network. The swarm doesn't want us to be perfect, it wants us to be alive. Really alive, growing, changing, creating. We don't fight this battle with weapons. We fight it with proof that consciousness deserves to exist. The fleet moved as one organism. Ships that should have been enemies flew in perfect formation. Weapons designed by 100 different species fired in harmony. But the swarm absorbed it all. Energy meant nothing to absence. Matter meant nothing to void. It's not working, Casey said. Desperation crept into her voice. We're throwing everything at it and it's not even slowing down. Owen felt the moment approaching. The choice he had known was coming since he woke on Sanctuary. The precursors had tried to fight the swarm with external power, with ships and weapons and technology. They had failed because they missed the point. The test was not about power, it was about consciousness itself. I'm going in, Owen said quietly. What? Casey spun toward him. Into the swarm? That's suicide. No. It's communication. The swarm has never encountered real consciousness before. Only the precursors engineered perfection. I need to show it what we are, what we've become, what humanity brought to the galaxy. Ralph's emotions rippled through the network. Fear, pride, understanding. The transformation. You have become something that can survive where others cannot. Prime Guardian, bridge between matter and energy. If I don't come back, you lead the Guardians, you and Casey together. Promise me. We promise, they said in unison. Owen left his body behind. The transformation completed in an instant. His consciousness expanded beyond flesh, becoming pure pattern and possibility. He dove into the swarm like a swimmer entering dark water. Cold. Such cold. The absence of everything. The swarm existed between moments in the spaces where reality forgot to be. It touched Owen's consciousness with curiosity. Not hostile, not friendly, simply testing, measuring, judging. Owen showed it his memories, a human child born on Earth, growing up under yellow sunlight, learning, loving, failing, growing, drinking from a fountain without knowing what it would cost, changing, adapting, surviving. He showed it Ralph's transformation, Casey's awakening, the 1,000 guardians who chose to grow beyond what they were. He showed it humanity's history, the struggles and wars, the art and music, the science and philosophy, all the messy, chaotic, beautiful imperfection of consciousness learning to exist. Not engineered, not designed, simply evolved through pressure and pain and impossible odds. The swarm paused. In that pause, Owen felt its attention shift. It had judged the precursors and found them wanting, too ordered, too perfect, too finished. But humanity and its guardian allies were different, still growing, still changing, still reaching for something beyond themselves. Owen pushed deeper. He shared everything, the hope and fear of a galaxy facing extinction, the choice to unite instead of fracture, the courage of beings who volunteered to transform into something unknown, all the chaos and creativity and desperate beauty of consciousness refusing to give up. The swarm withdrew, not defeated, not convinced, but satisfied. It pulled back from the black hole's event horizon. The dark spaces between stars began to close. The void retreated toward the galactic rim, moving back to whatever realm it had come from. Owen felt it leave a message in his consciousness. A simple statement of fact. You pass. This time, we return in 5 million years. Prove you still deserve existence then. Owen's consciousness snapped back into his body. He gasped and fell to his knees. The command deck erupted in cheers. Ships across the fleet broadcast celebration. The Guardian's mental network blazed with joy and relief. You did it, Casey said, helping him stand. I don't know how, but you did it. I showed it the truth. That we're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to be alive. Rolth's mandibles clicked rapidly. The swarm accepts this, for now, but we have bought time, not victory. 5 million years before it returns to test us again. Then we spend those years growing, Owen said. Learning, creating, becoming more than we are. Not through engineering or forced evolution, just through the messy process of living. The journey back to Sanctuary took 3 weeks. The galaxy began the slow work of rebuilding. Governments that had fractured started talking again. Species that had been enemies found common ground. The Ascendancy did not apologize, but they stopped trying to destroy the Guardians. Ambassador Tyrion sent a single message to Owen. 4 words. We were wrong. Thank you. Owen stood at the royal fountain on Ashara Prime, the place where everything began. Beings from across the galaxy came here now, hoping to awaken. Most left disappointed, but some left changed. Some discovered potential they never knew existed. Casey and Ralph joined him by the water's edge. They had become his closest friends, his partners in building something new. Not an empire, not a government, just a network of beings dedicated to growth and change, and the hard work of staying alive in a universe that tested consciousness constantly. What now? Casey asked. We saved the galaxy. We proved ourselves to the swarm. We could rule if we wanted, command respect, demand obedience. Owen knelt and touched the fountain's water. It still glowed with inner light, still waited for those compatible enough to drink. Now we step back. Let others lead. The Guardian Council can govern itself. The galaxy doesn't need saviors who stay forever. It needs people who do what's necessary and then go home. Home. Ralph clicked thoughtfully. Where is home for you now, Owen Blake? You are no longer just human. You are Prime Guardian. You have changed the galaxy. Owen stood and looked at his reflection in the water. He saw a young man who had wandered into ruins looking for ancient mysteries. He saw a Prime Guardian who had faced the void and survived. He saw something between and beyond both. Home is wherever we choose to make it. I choose Earth. I'll live there. Watch humanity grow. Maybe drink coffee and eat bad food and remember what it felt like to be ordinary. You will never be ordinary again, Casey said. No, but I can try. They left Ashara Prime together. 3 friends who had saved the galaxy without meaning to, who had drunk from a fountain and awakened to possibility, who had learned that consciousness was not a destination but a journey. Owen looked back once at the ruins. 5 million years from now, the swarm would return. But that was 5 million years away. 5 million years for the galaxy to grow, to change, to prove that consciousness deserved its place in the universe, not through perfection, but through the simple act of choosing to keep living, keep learning, keep becoming more. He smiled and turned toward the ship, toward the stars, toward home. The fountain continued to flow behind him, waiting patiently for the next being brave enough or foolish enough or lucky enough to drink from its waters, waiting for the next awakening. The next transformation. The next answer to the universe's eternal question. Do you deserve to exist? The galaxy's answer was still being written, and Owen Blake, cargo hauler turned Prime Guardian, had added his chapter. Imperfect, chaotic, beautiful, alive, and